Secretary of State Marco Rubio moves to strip United States visas from 8 Brazilian judges in Bolsonaro, the battle. Move by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio is the latest attempt by the Trump administration to help former president avoid justice over alleged coup. Tyrone Bowman live. According to The Guardian, let's talk about this article that was written by Tom Phillips. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has reportedly stripped 8 of Brazil's 11 Supreme Court judges of their U.S. visas as the White House escalates its campaign to help the country's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, avoid justice over his alleged attempt to seize power with a military coup. Bolsonaro, a far-right populist with ties to Donald Trump's MAGA movement, is on trial for allegedly masterminding a murderous plot to cling to power after losing the 2022 election to his left-wing rival, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Bolsonaro is expected to be convicted by the Supreme Court in the coming weeks and faces a jail sentence of up to 43 years. Here's a photo of Bolsonaro speaking to the media after being fitted with an electronic tag to stop him from absconding. The photo right there gives you some clarity and context to the story as I'm reading. As the day of judgment nears, President Trump has been increasing pressure on the court and President Lula's administration. On 9th of July, the U.S. president announced he would impose 50% tariffs on all Brazilian imports as of 1 of August, partly on the 1st of August, partly as a result of the supposed persecution of his ally. The move triggered an outpouring of nationalist anger in the South American country, with Lula describing it as a, quote, unacceptable blackmail, end quote. On Friday, after federal police raided Bolsonaro's house and fitted him with an electronic tag to stop him from absconding, Rubio announced further moves in support of the defendant, who he claimed was the victim of a, quote, political witch hunt, end quote. Writing on X, Rubio said he had ordered visa revocations for the judge leading the investigation in Bolsonaro, Alexandre de Mares, as well as his allies on the court and their family members. Rubio did not name his other targets, but the Brazilian newspaper, O Globo, identified them as Luiz Roberto Barroso, Jose Antonio Dias Tafuli, Cristiano Zanin, Flavio Dino, Carmen Lucia Antunes, Racha, Luis Edison Fachin, and Gilmore Ferreira Mendez. 2 other judges who were nominated to the court during Bolsonaro's 2019-2023 presidency, Andre Mendonça and Casio Nunes Marquez, reportedly avoided the sanction, as did a 3rd judge, Luis Fux. Luis denounced what he called, quote, another arbitrary and completely groundless measure from the U.S. government, end quote. Quote, interference in another country's justice system is unacceptable and offends the basic principles of national sovereignty and respect between nations, the president said on Saturday, adding, I'm certain that no kind of intimidation or threat from whoever it may be will compromise the most important mission of our nation's powers and institutions, which is to act permanently to defend and safeguard the democratic rule of law, end quote. Almost lost my feed there. The Trump strategist, Alex Brusowitz, welcomed Rubio's announcements, calling Bolsonaro's treatment sick and wrong. Bolsonaro's his congressman, Eduardo, thanked Rubio for his decision. Thank you very much for this fight in favor of free speech. We do believe in the same values, tweeted Eduardo, who has been living in the U.S. since February and has reportedly been lobbying officials there over his father's plight. Well, doesn't freedom of speech belong to everybody, not just to one group of people? I mean, here in America, Republicans can't have freedom of speech, and then the Democrats and the independents can't have it. That's not freedom of speech. That's being a dictator. That's dictatorial. Freedom of speech is for everybody then. President Trump's intervention have appalled millions of Brazilians who hope to see their former leader held responsible for the alleged coup attempt, which culminated on the 8th of January riots in Brasilia. Lula's institutional relations minister, Galice Hoffman, called the visa cancellations an aggressive and petty retaliation and an affront to the Brazilian judiciary and national sovereignty. Even influential right wing voices have criticized the U.S.'s attempt to meddle in one of the world's most populous democracies by imposing 50% tariffs. On Saturday, the conservative Estado de Sao Paulo newspaper described Trump's behavior as unacceptable external interference in Brazil's domestic matters. Trump has not only attacked our national sovereignty, but has also stained the history of diplomatic relations between the two largest democracies in the Americas, the newspaper's editorial board wrote. While the Bolsonaros have hailed Trump's actions, they also appear to have grasped how the announcement of tariffs has backfired, allowing Lula to pose as a nationalist defender of Brazilian interests and paint the Bolsonaro clan as self-serving traitors. Wow, that's a powerful statement, quote unquote. Lula, who had been facing growing public disillusionment and an uphill battle to win re-election next year, has enjoyed a bounce in the polls since Trump launched his trade war, the brunt of which will be borne by coffee producers and cattle ranchers in Bolsonaro voting regions such as Sao Paulo. I'm going to end this by saying this here. You know what? I'm going to end it right there. That's international news. Let's see who we got here. Real cute. You'll get canceled. I'll be here long after you go someplace and fade in the wind, my brother. This is my channel here. I'll be around for a long time. If I'm not here, I'll be someplace else. Never surrender, never quit. You got the wrong one.